We're not going to shift all the way to Texas, where at least they aren't expecting any snow that I'm aware of this weekend. But that doesn't mean there aren't the challenges out there as well. Of course, for the Texas Tyler women's basketball team, ranked 12th in the country right now in the D3Hoops.com top 25. It's a 17-1 season, 12-1 in the ASC. That one loss coming to Texas Dallas way back, as we say nowadays, back on December 6th. Certainly feels like a different time of the year, as it were, than it is right now, having won 12 straight. So we figured it was about high time that we talked to their head coach. So Coach Kevin Baker joins us here on the show. Coach, thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
First and foremost, congratulations on the season. As we mentioned, 17-1 overall, 12-1 in conference action, in a schedule that has certainly been dominated by the South, and we'll get into that for a little bit. But you got to be thrilled at least with how the team is playing, considering coming off of last year's 27-4 year mark.
Well, I tell you what, we really are excited. We had really high expectations for this season for sure, but we also knew that our schedule was pretty tough. Our conference was really going to be demanding this year, so we went into it kind of with a realistic view. We knew we were going to have to play well. If you would have told me at this point in this season that we'd be 17-1, I probably would laugh at you, just because of our strength of our conference and how good our conference is, in my opinion. And it's been a battle every night, and what I've really enjoyed about it is just watching our team get better each game. And yeah, we did lose early on in the season, but UT Dallas is a fantastic basketball team, and they beat us fair and square. So if there's such thing as a loss being good for you, maybe it was, because we've been on a roll ever since.
You certainly have been. And what's really stark is how much you've controlled teams and blown teams out. Really, since then, your closest game was Louisiana College on the road, a loss by 5. That was back 10 days ago as we speak. Before that, you had a couple close ones. Hardin-Simmons had taken you down to the wire at home, and you beat them by 3. And Rhodes on the road, a non-conference action, you got a win by 11. Of course, a road squad that over the years has been pretty darn good, and you beat Hendricks the next night on the road by 10. So it's almost like maybe it was that wake-up call in many coaches talk about. Granted, a while back, your team's been clicking right along ever since then. You got the rematch against Texas Dallas and beat them by 10 in the return trip at their place. So at least it was all fair in love and war, as it were. But how's the team been responding to a lot of the challenges?
Well, they responded very well, because the first tough test we had was at Rhodes, and we knew how good Rhodes was going to be. Thank goodness we played well there, and really we're still trying to figure out who we were then. And as we played UT Dallas and they beat us, we were still kind of finding our identity. We knew we could score. We have a team that can really score some points, and I'm really proud of that. But we also knew that the way we were going to win games here was by defending and rebounding. And since we've gotten a little more stubborn defensively and been able to rebound a little bit better, we're keeping people off the free throw line. And I think that's what's causing the margin of victory to be what it's been, especially here lately. So
Sure.
I hope we can keep that going. It's certainly a difficult thing to do. But if we can, I think there's really no limit to where this team can go.
Looking at the last year and how it ended, you guys get in the NCAA tournament with the automatic bid, winning the ASC title. You then have to go to Rhodes for the NCAA tournament. Probably no surprise there. You beat a pretty good Maryville squad in the first round, and handily, before then beating Rhodes at their place in the second round by 3 to advance to fly to Whitman in that rare opportunity, all thanks to Christopher Newport winning on the other side, that everybody headed to Whitman. And you're able to beat Thomas More, and in a game that really changed on Sydney Moss's injury. I should say that was the next game when she was injured, but really a game that seemed to be kind of based on how Sydney Moss was playing. I mean, you got him within 12. It was a terrific basketball game. How much does that experience of making the NCAA tournament, which you've done before, but making a deep run, playing pretty good squad in Thomas More, how much is that fueling you guys a little bit this year?
Well, I had no idea exactly how well it would fuel our team this year, but it really has motivated us. And I tell you the reason why. We played the #1 team in the country, Thomas More. We said in the locker room before the game started, if we could hold them to the low 70s, that we could beat them. and then all of a sudden we had a hard time scoring. And so we knew when that game was over, we had a pretty good nucleus coming back. And the thing that we learned from that was how close we were. We said, hey, if we played our normal game and scored a few more points, 12 more points, 6 more shots, then we'd have been right in there with them. And they were a fantastic team. And perhaps if Cindy Moss does not get hurt, who knows if they don't win the whole thing. So we just flying back from Walla Walla, we just kept thinking, gosh, we're close. We're really, really close. If we can get a few more players in here to help us, we may be in this situation again. And I hope that we are. I think this team is every bit as good as last year's team. We're just a little different. Last year's team was really, really good defensively. This year's team's a little bit better offensively. So we'll see how it pans out, but I'm excited to see where we may go.
This is a team that, you look at the roster, you've got your fair share of sophomores, your fair share of juniors, fair share of seniors. Also should mention the freshmen as well. But by my count, you've got 4 seniors on this squad. You've got a number of players, 4 of them in double figures on top of that. And it seems like a pretty well-rounded team, and a team that you're willing to go deep on the bench from. And it seems to have been a common theme with all the top teams I'm talking to, is being able to go deep. You're led by Brittany King at 15.5 points a game. You've got Michelle Obach at 11.1, 10.3 from Taylor Seals, and 10.3 from Mackenzie May. I have a feeling those aren't the only players to talk about, but talk about that core group right there.
Well, I tell you what, our core has been exactly what you would want them to be. They've just been solid. They've been dependable. We have had to go deep into our bench a lot this year, and that depth has really helped us. However, it's been that core group, and it's been that core group all year. It's going to always be them. Of course, we have the luxury of being able to substitute some people in that can really play the game, but that core group is pretty solid. And I will say this, though. I looked up on the floor when the game was close yesterday against Hart Simmons, and we had 5 sophomores on the floor. I'm not quite sure how smart that was, but they were being productive, and they were doing their job, and we were playing well, and it paid off in big ways.
I'm sure that's one of those moments you turn to your assistant. Don't ever let me do that again, please.
Exactly. Exactly. We didn't realize that was what was happening, but when we looked up and they were being productive, we said, hey, let's just stick with them.
And I should mention those 4 that we talk about there with double figures. Mackenzie May is the only one who's not your typical starter. She has started 2 games, but the rest of them were all in the starting role. We should also mention Jasmine Baskin, who's started all the games. She's averaging 9 points a game, so arguably 1 or 2 games, and we've got 5 in double figures here. I wouldn't say anybody jumps out at me at dominating the boards except for Brittany King at nearly 9.5 a game. But what does jump out at me, you talk about going deep on the bench. 11 players have played in 13 or more games so far this season. Is that something that you hope you can continue the rest of the season, or does there come a point where you start shortening things just a little bit?
A little bit of both. One of the things that we decided last year was that we had to get deeper in our bench if we were going to make a run in the NCAA tournament. We knew we would have to be deeper just to even get there. But yes, on the flip side of that, even though we like to have that depth, and in the back of our mind it gives us some comfort, we still shorten things up. We're going to play 7, maybe 8 kids down the stretch, but also knowing we could play 10 or 11 if we need to. So it's sort of a yes and no deal. You love to have that depth, and you need the depth, but absolutely, as you go deep into the tournament, you shorten up your bench.
What's something I've noticed that your schedule is, it's primarily based on either the conference or Texas. You guys don't tend to travel outside of that. Certainly in the conference and in Texas is travel. I know I this summer did a trip to Tucson. It took me 13 hours to go from the eastern point of Texas to the western point of Texas nonstop. But is that something you ever worry about hurting you in some ways? And I talk SOS. I talk the fact that you're basing this on hoping the conference can stay competitive, and risking the fact that if you come down to needing an at-large bid, you've got just your conference to rely on.
Right. Yeah, our strength of schedule is a bit deceiving, because I think around the rest of the country, maybe they don't really know how strong Texas basketball is.
Sure.
It is really our conference, the American Southwest Conference, is way tougher than I think that we're given credit for. We have to battle every single night.
Mm-hmm.
There's no gimmies, and because of that, I wish that people viewed our region as a little bit stronger, because if you're in it, then you know just how strong that it is. I hope that us making that statement and going in the Sweet 16 last year hopefully raised some eyebrows and showed some people, hey, look, that's a great region down there, and we don't need to leave our region to get good games. I hope that's the outcome. I really do, because we're not going to leave our region to play. If we do, it's going to be a rare thing. Maybe, just maybe, if we can do well in the NCAA tournament each year, maybe we'll gain a little bit more notoriety.
Well, granted, you did play Rhodes this year. Don't want to take anything away from that. And so certainly getting out a little bit and getting into different parts of the country. My only question is based on the fact that technically an SOS in a conference is going to be about a 500. It fluctuates. It certainly isn't perfect math there. So I'm just saying the fact that trying to boost the SOS in some ways, have you guys thought about trying to maybe travel to, I don't know, well, let's just take some random places. Head up, we just talked to Montclair State, but head up to Walla Walla, Washington, for example, is what they did. Or head to the Northeast for a weekend if you can. Somewhere maybe, or go to the Vegas tournament or something like that, to try and find a way to tap into some other conferences, just to give yourself, let's call it, a little bit of pillow, a little bit of cushion.
Sure, yeah. Well, we talked about it a lot. As a matter of fact, when we were in Walla Walla, we talked with them about coming back and playing a doubleheader. I also talked with Maryville when we played in the first round in Tennessee about going out there and playing a couple of games as well. We all want to do it, but we're all locked into schedules that we've already committed to.
Yeah.
I hope that it happens, but at the end of the day, I hope that our conference can be seen as stronger than what it is. I get what you're saying, but if we had the money to travel all over the U.S., we would already be doing it. So we do have some budgetary constraints there, but at the same time, if we really felt like we needed to get out east or west to get a couple, 2-3 games in, we could make that happen.
I was going to say the other trick here is you've got 5 out-of-conference games right now. That could change. I don't remember off the top of my head how next year's schedule alters with the addition of McMurray and I'm forgetting the second coming into the ASC next year. How much does that worry you, too, that just the tightening of that non-conference schedule?
Well, the way we're going to do it, we're going to break our conference into Eastern West Division. So that should give us 7 non-conference or out-of-conference games. Belhaven was the team that you were thinking of, and they're coming in out of Jackson, Mississippi, and they'll be a great addition to our conference. But we talked about playing everybody twice, and then we said, well, look, we've got to get some out-of-conference games going. So we're going to play the East once or the East twice and the West once. That should give us 7 non-conference games, and maybe that'll give us a chance to get out a little bit outside of region and give us some cushion. So that's the theory behind that. That's why we're going to do it that way, and I think it'll help our programs to do so.
Talk a little more specific about the conference. You guys lead right now by a game and a half on Texas Dallas, who's 14-3 overall, 10-2 in conference play. Louisiana College is 11-4, 8-4 in conference play. Then there's Howard Payne lurking along with Hardin Simmons and Concordia, Texas, all with above 500 conference records. Clearly, this seems like it's a good conference, but certainly has the top portion in yourselves, Dallas and Louisiana College. What's the key going forward when you have to still play? Maybe not any of the tough ones, but Louisiana College is the last game on the season for you guys. You may not, again, not necessarily tough ones. I just mean not the top tier. You've gotten done of the top tier, except for Louisiana College still to come. What's going to be the key for this team to keep the ball rolling, as it were?
I think it's going to be how tough can we be on the road, because we have out of our 7 games, 4 of them are on the road, and they're all in tough, what we consider tough road game situations. So that's what we're up against. We know it. We kind of know, hey, we're in control of our own destiny right now. With 7 games remaining on our regular season schedule, we know it's up to us. We don't need anybody else for help. We just have to go one by one and keep playing well. And if we do that and we play tough on the road like we've been doing all year, We haven't lost a game on the road all season. I hope we can continue that trend because we're sure going to need to down the stretch.
Yeah, I should point out at home against Laterno and then East Texas Baptist next weekend. Before then on the road, Sul Ross State, Howard Payne the following weekend, Mary Hardin Baylor, Concordia, Texas the following weekend, and then wrapping up the season at home against Louisiana College. Coach, you're just in your third season with this team, and you've brought them completely out of kind of the doldrums, as it were. They were 12-13 the season before you guys came in, three straight losing seasons. You jump in 18-9, 27-4, and now you're 17-1. What's been the secret?
Recruiting. We were really, I love all the pats on the back and all the great things that people are saying about what we've been able to do here. But the fact of the matter is we were able to recruit some really good players when I first got here, and we've been able to add some really nice players as we've gone. So in the last 3 years, we've got great players, and hopefully we can continue to do that. The University of Texas in Tyler is an amazing place, and there's a lot of people that really want to come play basketball here. So it's a privilege and an honor to coach here. I love it here, but a lot of the reason why I love it is because I know that we can always attract really nice players to our campus, and if we can continue to do what we're doing, hopefully we'll be in the talk for the NCAA tournament every year.
I noticed that all your players are from Texas. No surprise there, though I did see Michelle Obach. Looks like she tried the D2 thing playing at Merrimack College up in outside Boston. I suspect weather may have been a factor there in wanting to come back to the good old state of Texas. But is that your bread and butter? Is it Texas, and all about Texas?
I used to think that it was. I used to think that Texas kids, that was where I would pull most. But last year we had a kid from Wyoming, we had a kid from Louisiana, and a kid from Arkansas that started for us the last couple of years. I was a high school coach forever in Texas, so my roots are certainly in the Texas area. But every now and then we'll get a kid from, anywhere in the country, and I like that too. And anybody that can help us keep our success going, I'm for it. But yeah, I'm certainly rooted in Texas, and I know the Texas high school coaches really, really well, and the junior college coach as well. So it's been a great state to recruit. The state of Texas is very, very strong in girls basketball, and it sure helps us.
How do you see this potential NCAA tournament setting up? You guys had the opportunity to go to Rhodes last year, which was a nice thing in the NCAA's world, because they could bus you guys there and have a creative 4 teams there, which is, let's be honest, that's rare. Usually you guys are on that proverbial island, especially on the men's side. How do you see it shaping up this year? Do you see yourselves having to maybe deal with an island play where you're going to have to play through your own guys a little bit? Granted, no buys on the women's side. Or do you think that maybe this is another opportunity where you guys can get somewhere and see different teams?
The way it's shaping up, it looks like it may go similar to the way it did last year. And I'm okay with that. Whatever works. I think if we can keep things rolling, I hope that we can host some games rather than travel, because I think that we have a great location for the way things are shaping up. And we have an amazing facility. So it's kind of one of those things where we thought we had a great shot at hosting last year, and had things worked out a little bit differently, maybe we would have. But I think our chances may possibly be even greater this year. And I hope that's the case. And it looks that way as of now, but who really knows?
You talk about nice facilities. I'm telling you, that might be one of the best backdrops we've had on Skype. Nothing against anybody else's backdrop, but when you're throwing NCAA tournament or NCAA championship trophies in the background, and you've got some conference championship stuff there as well, it's a nice touch.
Well, I tell you, this is what we call the champions room, and I jokingly say that you're not allowed to come in here until you've won a championship or two. So there's certainly, but our entire athletic program here at UT Tyler is really strong. We're nationally ranked in a lot of sports, and so that's where we use this room a lot for recruiting.
Well, that's a good room to send them into. See, this is what we do here. Well, Coach, I really appreciate you taking the time to join us here on the show. As always, to give the guests the final word. Any final thoughts you'd like to share with those who may be watching?
Well, no, I just really appreciate what you do and what you do for D3 Hoops, and giving us some notoriety. And Division III basketball is such an awesome level, and I wish more people followed us, because we're a lot of fun, and I just appreciate what you do for us.
Well, thank you, Coach. I appreciate you taking the time to join me. It's a lot easier to talk about basketball when guests like yourself are willing to join us, especially on Skype. So thanks very much.
Thank you.
Kevin Baker joining us from Texas. Tyler, again, the team is 17-1 overall, 12-1 in the ASC, as we point out. They have the home game against Laterno and East Texas Baptist coming up to round out January. Again, they'll hit the road for 4 straight after that before finishing at home against Louisiana College. When we come back, we'll go